Everyone, welcome to my vlog today. I'm filming from my kitchen as I'm cooking. My kitchen seems to have a bit more better light than everywhere else in my house, in my flat. So today's vlog is more or less about how I feel regarding the treatment that I received with the government as somebody with a disability and long-standing illness, and dealing with mental health as well. So I am on what's known as universal credit. Universal credit, according to the government, is meant to make it easier for you to claim your benefits. It's supposed to help you, it's supposed to be simpler, like it's not a much of a big issue because everything is in one bulk. Everything is in one bulk and it causes your life to go into chaos. So I've been working for over 3 years in the NHS. Even during the periods where my liver condition was extremely bad, I was on the transplant list, I was still working. I was working till the day of my transplant when they called me in. I was working till then. 3 months after my transplant, I returned to work because you have to have a 3-month gap. I returned to work. I was working until January this year when I ended up having a seizure at work, and I went into hospital, etc, etc, and then I was ready to return to work. I let my manager know I was ready to return to work. The procedure is, if you have an illness, you have to go to occupational health, or if you've been in hospital, or ill for a certain time, over 7 days, you have to go to occupational health. They have to have a review. They have to see if you're fit for work. I was fit for work. My GP said I was fit for work, except I couldn't work full time. I have to go back to my part-time hours. I relate this to my manager, and then go to occupational health and see what occupational health says. I went to occupational health. She was like, "Oh, I'm not so sure." She referred me to another occupational health doctor. I went and saw that doctor, and he had no issues with it. He said, "Yeah, you can go back to work. Everything's fine." I was ready to go back to work and I was being fobbed off for ages, and then one day I contacted the head of our department and she said, "Yeah, you can't come back." So I was like, no warning, nothing. I was on sick leave, then I was unemployed. Like there was no in the middle, there's nothing. I had no warning. So I had to go and apply for universal credit. And universal credit is the epitome of it is trash. So they used to make you wait 6 weeks, and then they cut it down to 5 weeks because 1 week difference, makes a whole deal. It really doesn't. And during those 5 weeks, like, I'm giving them information and all this business, and then I have to I'm waiting. Like, you're literally just waiting. Like, they're not asking for any other information because you see your work coach first, and then your work coach tells you how long, when your first payment is due. So I had to wait until April the 20 something, and I was late. So from January all the way to April, I had no money. January to April, I had no money. I was relying on handouts from my friends and family members giving me a bit of cash here and there. That's what I was living on. I literally had no money. And then my first payment came. And it was £137. And the reason why it was 137 was because your housing benefit comes out of that benefit as well, universal credit. It used to be separate, but they decided, no, we're going to be annoying, we're going to punish you, so we're going to make it all in one bulk, so you really feel the strain. So whilst you're waiting these 5 to 6 weeks for them to decide, for them to pay you, you don't have housing benefit, you don't have no ways of paying your rent and things, so you go into rent arrears. So I went into extreme rent arrears. Like, I was literally panicking because I didn't see how I was going to be able to pay this anytime soon. And with the rent arrears, everything was just piling up. Rent was coming up. Thank God I don't actually have an electricity bill. I use a key. So I was like surviving on £15, £20 of electricity, which meant I had to switch off everything in my flat. the heater and everything was switched off. I was layering up thick covers and everything. Like, heater was turned off, because if I had turned on the heater, I had to then think about how I was going to get food, how I was going to travel to hospital, how I was going to pay for my medication, because you have nothing whilst you're waiting for that. They don't give you a letter or anything to say, oh, you're showing universal credit, so I can at least get my prescription for free. No, there's none of that. You have to wait until your first payment before any of this happens. So my rent, when it just like exploded, it just went crazy. So then they called me to the job centre, because you have to go like every other week or so to see them, to show that you're doing over 37.5 hours a week worth of job searching, because job searching is full-time work. That's what the job searching said. So I went there, and I was obviously in a panic. I mean, I have depression and anxiety, so being in that state just was not helping my mental health as well as my physical health. So I was literally just like, I don't know what to do. And then they said to me, oh, well, you can have an advance payment. I was like, what? They were like, yeah, you can have an advance payment. It's not an advance payment, it's a loan. It's the money that you would get from if they paid you properly. It's that money, but rather than just giving it to you, they would loan it out to you, and then you would have to pay that back. So the minimum you can take out as well is £100. So I had no money, so I had no choice but to get like £200 from that loan to get rid of some of the rent and to like pay up, because I had just been in hospital as well, so I was being monitored, and I see the team at South London, I see a team in Northwest London, and like I see my GP as well. So I have all these travels to make, plus medications to pay for, and food and life. So I asked for that advancement, and then so when my first payment came, it was 137. I literally remember that day, because the psychotherapist that I used to see had discharged me back to the local community. So I was just in limbo yet again. So my GP had referred me to the therapist, MPhil therapy that we have here in my area, and I was going for my first appointment, first assessment. And when I was going to the assessment, I got it. I remembered it was the first day of my payment. So I looked on my phone how much I got paid, 137, and I literally just panicked, because I was like, that 137 was supposed to last me till the next payment, which is a whole month. So another 6 weeks. I had to wait another month, another 6 weeks for them to give me the next payment. That 137 was supposed to last me till then, considering I was still in rent arrears. So what had happened was a big chunk of my rent arrears was taken out of that, and the loan, the money that I had, the advancement I had, payments from that was being taken out. And I was just sitting there like, they did this on purpose. This government has done this on purpose. My rent has gone into arrears because you won't let me claim housing benefits separately. You are saying I have to claim housing benefit under universal credit. Universal credit is taking a 6 weeks to come through. People's rent is excessive. Like, living in London rent is just crazy. I shouldn't really complain too much because I rent from the council, so my rent isn't as maddening as other people's, but it's still a lot, especially when you have no job. And I literally remember seeing it, and I had enough. I went to that therapy session, and I was just like, yeah, and like, I didn't see a way out. And I remember I was just like, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? So, let me just backtrack a bit, because I remember earlier on I said I had to wait until April. It was till March. January till March was when I was waiting for my first payment. Yeah, gotta be truthful when I'm making these videos. So yeah, I had to wait until March for that. So I don't remember much of my session. I was not happy with it. So what I had done was I just went home and my mood had plummeted. Like, well, they give us a scale, on a scale of 1 to 10, where would you put yourself? How would your mood be? CBT therapy. My mood was in the minus. It was in the minus. I did not see how I could handle all this, how I could survive. I literally was ready to give up. I was ready to give up. Like, I thought, and then like my doctor had also emailed me something about how my liver functions test weren't that brilliant, and I was just like, what is this life? What is this life for me? Like, I am trying. So it's not like I'm just sitting at home. I'm job searching. I'm trying to go to these interviews, considering I don't have travel money. I'm borrowing from people, and I'm like, I might have to pay these people back for one. And it's like, it felt like a punishment. It felt like a punishment. So I had decided that, you know what, this world was not for me. Living in this world was not doing me anything anymore, because it was just continuous battle with this government. Just when I'm just asking for help, I'm just asking for a bit of support during this time where I'm struggling. And I just felt like, I messaged the Universal Credit people. I told them that they had basically sentenced me to death because I was not going to be able to survive the whole month with this little bit of money. And I thought about, what am I going to tell my parents? What am I going to tell my brothers and sisters? What am I going to tell Sarah? And I was just like, I was ready to give up. And then what stopped me was the fact that it was my brother's birthday that month. My brothers, they're born on the same day. So it was their birthday coming up. It was Sarah's birthday coming up. It was Mummy Sue's birthday as well. And they're part of a group of people that I care about dearly. And they're my family. Sarah and Mummy Sue are my family. So with them and my siblings, and I thought like, I can't hurt them. Like, this is what I want. I wasn't backing away from the idea of just sleeping and never waking up again. It was the idea that I would hurt them in the process, and I didn't want to do that. So I started making plans. I started thinking of how, if I could write letters, what I would say. And I talked to myself a lot, so most of this was just me speaking out loud at home. And I used to try to go for a walk, and I was really trying to get rid of the thoughts in my head that were so strong. Like, I've never had thoughts like this before. I've had thoughts like this before, but they weren't this extreme. They weren't this hardening. And what made it worse is because I've had a liver transplant. A stranger has gave me the gift of life, like a second chance, but I've had multiple episodes of rejection, and I've had to have treatment and be in hospital for this condition. So, and I have autoimmune. Autoimmune is just your immune system is so intense. So with the liver, it's always problematic for me. And I just thought, I was like, I can't go through it, because that gift somebody gave to me has been wasted. But at the same time, I couldn't see how I could live. I couldn't see how I could continue. Trying and remain functional was becoming problematic for me, and I just wanted to hide. I didn't understand, because in the midst of all this as well, I'm having to fight for another benefit that I had previously been getting, which was helping me, because I only used to work 2 days a week. So the benefit I used to get before was called it's called PIP, Personal Dependent independence payment. I used to get that, and I had to go for an assessment. And these private companies that do, because the people that do the assessment are not government officials, they're not doctors. They claim to be doctors, but they are not doctors. They are not. There's some of them say they're nurses or whatever, but I don't believe them. I don't believe a single one of them is medically trained. And these people work for these private companies who run the assessments on behalf of the government, and they lie. They lie. You can Google the amount of people who've had issues with companies such as Atos and Capita, because they have found that the people that have done their assessments have lied. Like, it is extraordinary. I remember, like, I asked for my assessment to be sent to me because my social worker and myself were quite shocked. Like, they said, okay, yeah, we used to give it to you, but you don't need it anymore, considering my condition hasn't even actually improved from the last time I used to get it. It's gotten worse. But for them was, no, it's fine. Like, I've had 2 episodes of seizures. The first one was last summer, and I ended up in a coma for it. This I had another one in the new year. Thank God I didn't end up in a coma. And then 5 episodes of rejection. It's now been 6 episodes of liver rejection, chronic back and joint pain, plus dealing with depression and anxiety, which has gotten worse over the years. And they've concluded that there was nothing wrong with me. And I read what that person wrote in the assessment, and to lie like that, I don't understand why they lie. Like, unless they're being told by their company and the DWP that they have to. Some people, like, I don't know what they're told, but I just feel like it is horrible, the lies that they tell in these things. Because, like, one of the comments was the person who did my assessment was, when he came to get me from the waiting area, I was walking fine. Oh my God. I clearly state, like, he didn't ask me if I was okay whilst I was walking. Yeah, I was there. I had waited over an hour for my appointment, for one, because they were late, and 2, the painkillers I take, I'm fully drugged up. Like, this is why, like, my voice is a bit hyperactive right now, because of the painkillers that I take. I take gabapentin, 900 milligram of that, yeah, and I take that like 3 times a day. I take tramadol, I take paracetamol, I take I've stopped the tramadol actually, and I take morphine, and I wear lidocaine patch. All of that I was on. So other time of my assessment, I taken gabapentin, I taken tramadol, and I was wearing 2 lidocaine patches on my back. Yeah. And the reason why, and I was actually limping, but he didn't notice. And I actually informed him that I have chronic back and joint pain, and I actually use a walking stick. By that time, I lost my walking stick. Somebody took it on the bus. Anyways, that's another story. So I had lost my walking stick, so I didn't have that. I informed him of that, but he had the audacity to say she was fine. Like, he asked me to bend over to try and touch my knees or my feet, and I literally could not do that because I have chronic pain. Like, it hurts. I can do it, and then I'll be crying in pain afterwards. Like, I didn't understand that. And they did not take into consideration the fact that I have depression and anxiety. It was, oh, she can work, so she's okay. And it's like, I work 2 days a week, sir, and plus I spend the majority of my time at home. For me to go out with my friends, it takes a long period. I explained all this, and then I also included information that my social worker had gathered from the hospital, because he's based in the hospital. My doctors had written a statement. I had a statement from my therapist at the time. I also had a statement from my psychologist. So I could not understand their reasoning. And then I asked for what's known as a mandatory reconsideration. They in the space of a week, I sent off my mandatory consideration on like the 9th or something of August. February. And then that letter that they had sent me was dated the 12th of February, which means they literally spent a couple of days. They got the letter, so they either got the letter ASAP, and then they read and they went over all my files and information again, and then within literally 2 days they had come to, 3 days they had to come to a conclusion. Yeah, they had made the decision. No, it was BS, because they don't do that. They don't do that. Our government offices take yonks to do anything. So and then I had to get to the position where, like, so many people in this country, like, you have to look it up yourselves, but a lot of people are having to go to court and appeal these assessments. Like they're called, like, oh god, what's it called, work health assessment or something like that. And these assessments, I don't understand why the word of my doctor, my health professionals I've known for years, these people have known me since I was like 13. These people know my health history, they know my life. You won't accept their word about my conditions and how it affects me. Like, so now I'm waiting to go to court for this, because so all of this was happening at the same time with the universal credit, and my mood has just been plummeted, and I'm still trying to get help. I'm still asking to get help. Like, even like the things like mental health support in this country is being really difficult, because we just don't have enough staff. The NHS is struggling, and it's just and it's like when you call these people from the DWP to ask questions or to try and find out what's going on, some of them will speak to you like you're the lowest of the lowest, or they'll just be so like condescending, and they'll just treat you like, they literally just treat you like, how dare you call me and waste my time kind of situation. Like, I remember I was in hospital like last year at some point, and I called the DWP. And I said to them, you've asked for me to provide you with information, but I'm in hospital, so I can't do that. Like, they wanted my pay slips. The woman on the phone who works for the government office said to me, why can't you discharge yourself and go to work and get your pay slip? I am in hospital dealing with liver rejection, and you want me to discharge myself, go trek from South London to North London to my workplace to log in and to get my pay slip, to then go and make a photocopy and then send it to you, and then come back to hospital. You're basically, that is just, to me, is just the most ridiculous thing ever. It's absolutely ridiculous. Like, and the worst thing I know is I'm not being treated the worst, because I've read stories, and you like, people have messaged, and I see them on social media talking about their experiences dealing with this government and the way they're treated. People who rely on motor cars, etc., they've had their cars taken away from them, so then they're being restricted to their homes, when the whole purpose of these benefits is meant to encourage you to go back into the workplace. It doesn't encourage you to the workplace. It pushes you to the brink. It pushes you to the point where you feel like your life is shit. Like, there is nothing here for you, because nobody wants to support you. People are making you feel like you're just being a selfish, lazy, no good for nothing, and you don't have a purpose here. You don't have a purpose. Like, you should be out there working 37.5 hours a week, but instead you're here asking for benefits. How dare you? That's how they make you feel, and then they push you to the brink. Like, people who didn't even have mental health issues before, because of these government and their policies, because of austerity, they've now developed this. Like, I've been dealing with depression and anxiety literally since I was a teenager, but it was always in relation to other things. But now, like, these social and economical problems have now added on top of that, and I've got to the point where I will hide myself away, because it's so much easier than having to deal with people. I've had to visit food banks or just starve. I live on 25, I think they're 25 or 20p noodles. That's what I live on the majority of the time. And then once in a blue moon, I'm able to get food from my grandma, or I'm able to get food from friends lucky enough to give me kind enough to give me money. But I can't keep relying on my friends. I am literally just asking for support during just this time period where I am having a hard time. That is all. But this government will literally make you feel like you are scum. And the worst thing is, people have been telling them like universal credit and these work assessments don't work. They don't work. I read a report like over 120,000 people have died as a result of dealing with our welfare state and these benefits. These people have died because of austerity. They wanted support, and the government turned their backs on them. And it's disheartening, it's heartbreaking, and frankly, it's upsetting. Like, I'm so sorry this video is so long, but it's taking me ages to film this, because every time I try to film this, I've started crying and being all emotional, and I really didn't want to be like that this time. I really didn't want it, because I just wanted to show some sort of strength for other people that are also going through it, just to let them know that you are not alone. There's literally loads of us struggling with this. Like, they make you feel like scum. They lie on you, and they make you think that you don't matter. And if I did not think about my brothers and my sisters and my family members, if I didn't think about them, like if I didn't think about Sarah's birthday or my brother's birthday back in March, I wouldn't be here, because I know that I would have gone through with my plans. I know that. And I'm trying now to not to get like that anymore. I'm trying to control my emotions and to find like a way. I'm trying to be positive, but it's so hard to be positive when literally like that brown letter that you would get from the DWP is hell, because I've never had that letter that says anything positive to me. It's hell. So I'm not a scrounger, I'm not lazy, I'm just at a period where while I don't have a job, I have been going for job interviews for anyone to dare comment, you're not looking hard enough. That period where I want the government to help. Like, I've contributed to taxes, I've been working, I've been paying my national insurance, etc, etc. So why is it when I'm asking for help now, you make me a criminal, you criminalize me for wanting help? Because that's what it feels like. You make me feel like a criminal. You make me feel like less than nothing. And I'm one of the lucky people who's not homeless. But I could have been if I wasn't renting. If like one of us are renting for the council. And I don't understand is why they refuse to listen to people. Like, they refuse to listen to everything everybody has says. The UN has condemned this government and the treatment of people with disabilities. They've condemned them with their policies because they've said it goes against human rights. But this government still pushes ahead with it. Why do you do that? Why do you do that? Why do you have such a dislike of people with disabilities? What have we done to you? Because people with disabilities still work, we still contribute to the everyday running of today's society, we still contribute, we do stuff. So I don't understand why you treat us like this. Like, why do you do that? Why? I don't understand. Theresa May and all of you people, Ian Duncan Smith and the rest of them, that other lady who's now in charge, why do you guys do this to people? Like, why can't you just be like, have a common sense and be like, you know what, so many people have died and it's apparent, according to research, it's down to the policies that we have been implementing. Why don't we pause and think about it? Why don't we stop universal credit for a while and try to work out how to make it better? Why can't you just do that? Why can't you do that? Why must you just push and go ahead? I know the answer myself. I don't want to even bothered asking. I know the answer. It's the social cleansing of people with disabilities, illnesses, and the elderly. Because that's what it is. their policies affect the elderly, affect those with illnesses, those with disabilities, affects children. There is literally the other current amendment. They are going for every group there is that they can go after. Anyways, I have rumbled on so much. I apologize for the length of this video. I just went off on one. Please like, share, and comment. I do apologize. I've just come out of hospital, so yeah, I'm not really that well. I'm high dose. I'm literally on the high dosages of a lot of my medications right now, so I'm a bit drugged up. But yeah, thank you for watching, everybody. I wish you all the best.